Alright guys, welcome back to Cold Pizza Watch Reviews. Today I'm talking about the Stowa Flieger Bronze Vintage 36. Now in a previous video I did on the Stowa Flieger Vintage 36, I said I'm definitely buying one of these watches barring any financial catastrophe. Well, I did, but I did one thing different. I actually went for the bronze version. Now the reason I did that is I actually don't own a bronze watch, don't have one in my collection, and I thought, who better to get one from than Stowa? Now, before I get into the specs on the watch and what do I actually think about this bronze version, let me briefly go over the history of Stowa. Now, they were actually founded by Walter Storrs in Hornburg, Germany back in 1927. Now, Stowa is one of the original 5 manufacturers that made Flieger watches during World War II. The others being a Lang & Son, Laco, Wempe, and IWC. Now, starting with the Baumuster A, which was the initial pilot's watch offered by Stowa in 1940, and this same design carries over to the current version of the Flieger 36. Next, in 1942, Stowa developed the Baumuster B. Noted for the large dial and smaller inside hour circle, the Baumuster B had a 55mm case diameter and only 42 pieces were ever built. Now, I've reviewed 2 different watches by Stowa. The first was the Antia Classic. The second was the Flieger Vintage 36. But unfortunately, both those watches had to go back to Germany. But I was so impressed with their quality, I actually decided, hey, I'm going to buy the Flieger Bronze Vintage 36 for myself. Now, this watch cost around $1,382 US, or if you go on Stowa's website, it's 1,218 euros. So Stowa makes several different styles of watches, from pilot's watches to marine watches, Bauhaus style, even chronographs as well, and I definitely recommend you go over to the website and check out their other designs. Now, before I tell you about this watch, let's jump into the specs on the Bronze Vintage 36. Starting with this all bronze case, including the see-through case back, you're getting CU SN8 level bronze. Now, the reason I point out that the case back is also bronze because some bronze watches actually do have a stainless steel case back. Now, obviously, since this is called the Flieger Bronze Vintage 36, you're getting a solid 36mm case diameter, which is ideal for my 6.5-inch wrist. Next up is the lug-to-lug. The Flieger Bronze Vintage 36 comes in at 44.6mm, making this a well-proportioned watch suitable for small to medium-sized wrists. But if your wrists are larger, check out the Flieger Bronze in 40mm. Now, the lug width is a standard 18mm, and that's perfect because when you're talking about pilot's watches, you know they're very versatile when it comes to picking different strap options. Moving on to the crown, you get a substantial 6.5mm onion head style crown that I found easy to operate while winding and setting the time. Next, the crystal on the Flieger Bronze Vintage 36 is sapphire with a slight dome shape, keeping with the vintage design of the watch. Now, the case height is only 10.3mm, so this would work great as a dress watch or a casual everyday option. Underneath the sapphire crystal, you get this beautiful vintage dial, starting with the luminous numerals. These are treated with superluminova in old radium color. Next, at the 12 o'clock position, you get the notable triangle with 2 luminous points on either side. Now, just beneath the triangle, you can opt for the Stowa logo, or they give you the option to have no logo on the dial. Me personally, I prefer to have that Stowa logo because remember, they were one of the original 5 Flieger watch manufacturers. Moving on to the hands, you're getting these beautiful tempered blued sword-styled hands that are also treated with the old radium superluminova. The loom is well done on the Flieger Bronze Vintage 36. I was actually surprised at how bright it is, given the old radium color is applied directly to the dial. All of this contrasts perfectly against the matte black dial. Now, my example does not have the date function, but Stowa allows you the option of adding one if you choose, but I like the no date dial as it keeps with the vintage Flieger design. So when we turn the watch over, you see this wonderful hand-wound Sellita SW210-1 movement. Now you can choose an automatic version if you prefer, as Stowa gives you that option, but this hand-wound SW210-1 is just stunning in my opinion. Now the 210-1 is a 19-joule movement, and of course it's hand-wound only with hacking capability, beating at 28,800 with a 42-hour power reserve. Now let's move on to the strap. You get an 18mm pilot-style strap in what Stowa calls old-style brown. While it feels and looks like leather, there's no markings indicating if the strap is genuine leather or man-made material. But regardless, the build quality is excellent down to the stitching and the two keepers that hold the strap firmly in place. So one big difference, if you get the bronze version, is you're actually getting a solid bronze buckle that has the Stowa logo engraved. Next, Stowa offers 3 different strap sizes. They have S, which is their small, then they have N, which is their medium size, then they have the L for larger wrist. Now in my previous review, the watch that they sent me had the N size. Now when I ordered the bronze version, I decided to go with the S because I have 6.5-inch wrist and I think this strap works perfect. Now if you're not sure, they have a sizing guide on their website that will help you pick the right strap for your wrist. So these are the specs on the Flieger Bronze Vintage 36. Now what are my thoughts? The bronze is awesome. So my first impression when I took it out of the box is the patina. Now I've never owned a bronze watch before and I thought it would take some time for the watch to develop that vintage look, but when the Stowa arrived, it was looking perfectly aged. Then of course the case dimensions. You've got 36mm by 44.6mm. With these slightly turned down lugs, this case sits perfectly. Next, the way that the vintage inspired dial works so well with this bronze case makes the whole watch take on a very classic rustic tone. I've actually been looking at a lot of bronze watches while I've been waiting on my Stowa to arrive, and to be honest, some watch companies just add a bronze case without changing the dial, and I don't think those watches flow very well. Having a modern dial with the bronze case can honestly look a bit goofy, but that's not the case here with the Stowa. Then you notice this onion head crown. I was surprised that it really stands out more on the bronze version than it did on the stainless steel version that I reviewed. Moving on to one of the big selling points of this watch is the beautiful Sellita SW210-1 movement. You're getting a top grade hand-wound movement that's beautifully decorated while being surrounded by this vintage bronze case. Next, let's talk about this strap. It was pretty much broken in one day. Very comfortable, very easy to wear. I really like the accent of the bronze buckle. You know, a lot of times companies cheap out on strap quality, but that's not the case here with the Stowa. You know, this watch reminds me of picking up an old film camera or driving my '66 Mustang. It's stripped down to its bare elements. There's no date window, no automatic rotor, there's no fancy bracelet, just a classic watch doing its job and looking amazing while doing it. Guys, are you entertaining the Stowa Flieger Bronze Vintage 36 or the 40? Or do you own a Stowa watch? Talk about it in the comments below. And as always, appreciate you tuning in to Cold Pizza Watch Reviews.